Hey there friends in YouTube land. This video is specifically for my cousin who bought a manual kiln from me. So it's just like an instruction video on how to set up the kiln, but I'm putting it on there on YouTube land for her, but I figure it can probably help other people too, so I'll just put it as like a public video. So if you're new to ceramics and you get an older kiln and need some instruction as far as how to set up and how to work your first time with a manual kiln, it's an older Paragon, the one that I have. You can also use this video. I also do like a silly little studio tour at the end, so you can just skip to whatever parts or skip over to what you need. But this is for my cousin Elizabeth. Good luck with your new ceramics wheel that you're getting, and old kiln, and yeah, good luck. Hi girl, hi. Here's your new kiln. Wahoo, new old kiln. I figured I would make you a video on how to work it. But if I'm up there, I'll give you the rundown, but it's probably good to have a visual of stuff. So here we go. So Paragon high fire kiln, I've ran it up to cone 6, but it does go up to cone 10. It is not the most handsome man at the dance, but it works and it gets up to temperature. It does have some damage that I repaired some with the fire brick. There's the plug. It plugs into a standard dryer outlet. I have it right next to my dryer, so I just unplug that and I plug this bad Larry in. This little friend here is your kiln sitter. So when you flick this little friend, it makes your kiln sitter move up and down like so. These friends here are your plyometric cones. So what we want to do is take one of these friends and we want to put it underneath when we lift this up, and you kind of wedge it in between there. So then when your kiln gets up to the temperature that you want it to, that cone will bend once it reaches temperature, and that flicky bar thing will go down and your kiln will shut off automatically. So when your kiln's plugged in and you're ready for a firing, you want to flick this switch up and this little lever down. I wish I had a tripod. So it holds that in place and it holds that little nubby up. So when you're ready to fire, flick this up, this, and then you come over this way, and I only have one hand. You can do that, maybe, okay. So I'm holding it up with my other hand on the other side of the kiln, and this little friend goes in there, like I showed you earlier. So that way, when this thingy is up, it exposes this button here, and that button there is what turns the kiln on. So when you push this in, that means that it's ready to fire. The kiln will not turn on unless this here thing is up and it's connected to this and this button is engaged. So once all of those things happen, you can start fiddling with your temperature gauges. So I'm sending you with the plyometric cone. So I have cone 04, which is different than cone 4. So when you do a bisque firing, you want to make sure everything is completely dry, because you don't want explosions in the kiln. So you load your kiln, the 04 goes in that little holder friend, and then you close it up, and then you come over here, and then this controls the bottom set of elements, and then this controls the top set of elements. So there's different firing schedules that you can do, and I'll send you a copy of the way that I fire with it. Okay, and just for demonstration purposes, I plugged the kiln in, so we already have our cone or bar there. We already have this guy flipped up, this button is engaged, and then you come to this side, and then these will come on. So we're starting the kiln on low. It has like a little bit of a buzz to it that you probably hear. And then it's like our top on low. See, it kind of has this little hum to it that you'll hear. So that's normal. And as for firing, I always keep a log of you know, how I want to do each firing, how long it takes, how many hours. I put like the date. So this, I'll just go off of this one. This was a cone 4 bisque. So there's no glaze on anything. And I have my date with a spooky ghost because it was Friday the 13th. So if you're doing a bisque, I always start the bottom one only, and I leave the top one off. So you kind of want to start slow because it's a manual kiln, so it heats up properly. You don't want things to heat up too fast or your pots will explode. So this firing schedule, we have the top off, and then you gotta set an alarm, so you'll have the bottom on for 2 hours on low, and then you have the plugs here. These come out the little peepholes, so I usually leave the top one out for the first 2 hours, just in case there's anything maybe a little bit damp in there, just so that the cold, the wetness can escape, because otherwise things can explode. So bottom on low, 2 hours. Then I plug the top hole, and then the top I put on low, so they'll both be on at that point. So low, and then you do that for 1 hour. So you set your alarm again for 1 hour, and then the bottom you'll go to medium. So you leave that on for an hour, and then you come back, and then this one goes to medium, and then you time it again for an hour, and then high, and then you come back in an hour, and then high, and then once it's on high, it's going to shut off by itself. I'll shut these off just so we're not stressing the kiln out. It's getting warm in there already. So once it reaches temperature, it's going to shut off by itself, because that bar right there is going to melt. It's going to turn into like a U, and that heavy metal piece in there is going to like collapse and shut the kiln off for you. And I'll also say, if you're doing a cone 6, it's a little bit different. So I don't know what you're gonna be firing to, but if you are firing to cone 6 on this, I start the kiln both top and bottom on low for 3.5 hours, and then you set your timer, and then you put them both on medium for 4 hours, and then you plug your top hole, so that front, and then after your 4 hours you come back and put them both on high until it's done, and you get that busted, this guy will bend and it will shut off automatically. And when that happens, because this will be like this, I took the cone out. So when this melts, it like releases, so and that's what shuts the kiln off. So yeah. Oh, and this is one of the, well, it cracked a little bit, but this is one of the cones that we have in here. So it goes from a flat front, everything's blurry, and then once that bar comes down, it bends it in half. Half of this broke, but it turns it into like the letter U or a check mark. Hooray. So if something's not getting up to temperature, you can turn the kiln on and see how these are turning red. The elements, the coils, they'll turn red when they're working. I just turned it on, so it's going to take a minute for them all to start turning red, but gives you an idea anyways. The lid holder is a little bit of a pain in the ass. There's this little button here, so you just push it down and it folds, it bends this way. So there you go. And sometimes you gotta give it like a little bit of a push, or kind of kick it forward with your other hand, and that will hold the lid up. You don't want to leave the lid up like this though. You only want to keep it up if you're loading or unloading the kiln, because it puts pressure on this, on the lid, and the lid can crack because it's kind of at an awkward angle, just for the longevity of it, and it's already an old friend, so you want to take care of them. So just only leave this up if you're loading or unloading. So there's this like metal stand, kiln stand. You always want to keep the kiln on the kiln stand, because when it's flat on the ground, it can create pressure and crack bricks. This one does, it came that way when I got it. It does have some brick crackage at the bottom. I'll show you that in a minute once it cools down. All right, I think that this cooled off enough where I can take this bottom shelf off and show you the bottom. Okay, bottom shelf is off. So you never want to put, so there is some cracks here. It kind of came that way and it cracked a little bit more with transporting it, but it still holds temperature, so you should be good. So long as nothing crazy happens getting it over to you. You never want to put the shelves flat on the bottom of this. You want to have support stilts. So you want these little guys on the bottom, and you want 4 of them on the bottom. And then you put your first shelf down. You never want to put anything directly on the bottom of this, because if your glaze melts or anything, you're like screwed, because then it's stuck to the fire brick and it will be a big pain. So it also has another piece, I don't have it with me at the moment, but you will be getting it, that goes on top of this, so this lid can come off, unscrew entirely. And then there's another chamber that is maybe like that tall, so it can give you more space. And then you just have to unscrew this front and wire it in. Anybody with probably basic electricity knowledge can do it. It's kind of like this, because this is a bigger kiln, so it's in different chambers. So you get it like this. All of these come apart, and then they wire in directly into the box. So it's going to be similar on yours, but yours is just the one big chamber, and then the other one, I never used it. I didn't think it would be too efficient, and when I was using this kiln, I never made enough at a time where it made sense to even put it on. So if you're just hobby potter, not going Harry Potter, not going crazy, making tons and tons of things, but kind of, you know, like a relaxation hobby, then this guy should be good. I'm sending you with the shelves for it. I already used Kiln wash on them, so that's why this is white, and that's the color of the shelf itself, so it ran a little bit. And you just mix it up with a little bit of water, kind of like you want the thickness of like milk or like cream almost. You don't want it too thick. But I already kiln washed most of these shelves and used them. You can kind of see little outlines of stuff. So you want to do that because in case any of your glaze drips, it helps it not stick to the shelf, because if it sticks to the shelf, you kind of have to smash your piece off with a hammer and it smashes up your shelf and smashes up your shelf and smashes up your work. At least if you have the kiln wash on it, you can kind of get your piece off, and maybe there might be a little bit of kiln wash stuck to the bottom, but at least it kind of saves your shelf. So I'm not sure what firing schedule you're going to be using, but I do all my bisqueware at cone 04. So that's 1940. And then it cools down, then you glaze it, and then I fire everything after it's glazed to cone 6, 22, 28, so it gets quite hot. So something to keep in mind, the difference when we're using these plyometric combs, the 0 in front of stuff makes a big difference. So 04 Bisque, 1940, and then if you accidentally put a cone 4 in without the 0 in front of it, that's a big difference in temperature. So you want to keep that in mind. Yeah, so I don't know when the last time that you worked with clay was. College, I don't know how long that was ago, so just like remind you of a couple like key things to remember. I made these with my little my friend's son the other day. We made some pinch pots. So this is greenware, so it hasn't been fired in the kiln yet. You can stack these. So greenware fired in the kiln, so this is just clay that has been dried out all the way. You can stack these just like that right in the kiln, and you just want to make sure it's not touching any of the elements. You want to give it some space. Maybe like if the kiln wall was here, you want to give it, you know, maybe like that far away, so that way it's not right up against things. That way things heat evenly and you don't crack and explode stuff. This is E.T. in drag, yeah. Vintage mold from the 70s, or probably not 70s, 80s, I guess, maybe 90s. We're old. So this is like greenware. That's how it will come out. No glaze on it. Once you put glaze on it, though, you want to make sure that you wipe your bottoms, because you don't want glaze on the bottom of the piece. This is underglaze, so underglaze can touch the shelf and it's fine. It's the glaze stuff that you want to watch out for. So all of my pieces, because coffee is self-care. This is underglaze, so I like to paint my bottoms and carve into them, but it's not like the shiny stuff that will turn to glass. So remember, when once your pieces are glazed, so I have some, these are glazed and they're waiting to go into the kiln. Once they're glazed, remember to wipe your bottoms so that way nothing sticks to the shelf. Another trick that I have learned, if you make cookies, so these are just cone 04 fired, disked. So you put these down if you have something that you're afraid is gonna drip, like a glaze that kind of gets a little drippy. You can, to save your kiln shelves, if you make, you know, a bunch of these little cookies, you put that on after you wipe your bottoms. And these don't have any glaze on them, so they're safe. Well, this one really. so it can sit on the kiln shelf just like that, and that way it saves just in case anything gets a little drippy like that. This guy here got a little drippy with the glaze, but he was on one of those cookie coaster things, so it saved my shelf, and it was all set. So you're probably going to be working with a lot of pre-made glazes. I have a bunch when you start out. I really like the company Amico. So pay attention when you're ordering stuff online. I really like Clay King a lot. They're my favorite. They have really fast shipping and free shipping. And stuff comes in like 2 days. But pay attention to the cone 5, 6. It depends on, I don't know what clay that you're going to be firing to. I don't know what clay body you're going to be using, if you're going to use low fire or high fire. I use a high fire, cone 6 to 10. So you want to make sure that you get a glaze, so when the clay vitrifies during the high fire, you know, you have the correct glaze. Because if you get something that says 5, 6 when you're, you know, firing to 6, everything comes out nice. But I accidentally wasn't paying attention ordering some of this stuff, and I got an 05, so I can't even use this for the type of clay that I have. So if I use this glaze and only fire the clay that I have, it will not vitrify, so it won't get up to the correct temperature for the clay body itself. So that's something to pay attention to when you're ordering stuff. The 0 in front of the number is really important. And also pay attention to how many coats that you need. It usually says apply, you know, 2 to 3 coats or 3 to 4 coats for each glaze, and it does matter, because you get some like pretty colors, but you can definitely tell when something, either the kiln doesn't, you know, something goes funky with the kiln and it doesn't get up to temperature, or you don't put enough coats on. I think with this one I was trying a new glaze and I didn't put enough coats. You really need to coat the shit out of them with certain glazes. So I believe I didn't put enough coats on this, or maybe it was when my elements died and it just didn't get up to temperature. But you can kind of troubleshoot, like, oh boy, that doesn't look, you know, like the pretty whatever that you're aiming for. And there's a ton of groups on Facebook. There is an Amco. These are the ones that I kind of mainly use. Coyote group on Facebook. There's a Spectrum and Mako. There's other ones too. This is Georgie's Glaze. But I'd say the big 3 would be Amico, Coyote, and Spectrum. And you can layer them and make everything pretty. This is another one that did not come out so pretty with the handle. I think I was trying some new glazes, but luckily, if you don't like something, because the rest of it came out actually pretty cool, but this like ugly, the rest of the color didn't come out too hot. You can refire stuff if I think it was supposed to come out more like this purple, but it did not. So but you just use a heat gun, one of these friends that I got from Harbor Freight, and you just kind of heat up the outside of it a little bit for maybe 30 seconds or so, just so the glaze will stick very easily to where you want to refire the piece. So that way everything's not a total loss. These are going to be refires that came out a little ugh. So once in a while you're trying something new or whatever, but you can always refire stuff, especially if you like the form. Grateful Dead, kind of a hippie. These are my Underglazes. So Underglaze is It's basically a colored pottery. It's like a colored clay. So that's how I get like these designs where I'll put underglaze on the, so the naked clay would look like this, white, and then you put the black underglaze over it, and then you can carve through to make cool designs, and then you put a clear coat over that. I keep separate brushes for my underglaze, my carving tools, my studio, hot mess. And this is my glazing station at the moment. So I have separate brushes for like underglaze, and regular glaze. And I just get like throwaway brushes from like the job lot or the cheap giant packages from I don't know, Michael's. I really like using the fan brushes. This is something that I learned recently, so I'll tell you this now. It's just easier to get like the glaze on like for big areas, and then you'll have your little detail brushes for other stuff. Studio tour, I guess this turned into. So my potter's wheels, I do wet work stuff kind of there, and then after everything gets bisqued, I kind of, this is like a wet work area, but then once it's glaze time, all the wet stuff and clay stuff kind of goes away and it turns into Glaze City. And then when I'm done glazing, everything gets cleaned up and goes back on that shelf, and then this turns into like wet work area completely again with the wheels. But right now it's like glazing time, so yeah, so I think that's it. That's the Joanna Man refresher course, and learn how to make ceramic stuff. Your clay too, well, you were in a ceramic studio, so you know when you wash out your buckets and stuff, it can't go down the sink because it will clog your pipes and wreck your life. So I have like a bucket that I keep like my slop clay in, that I can like reclaim stuff. So like this, like my throwing water, I have a bucket down there. It's kind of giant. So I empty everything out there, and then I'll hose things off outside, and I have like so many buckets in here. So if it's like winter or something, I have like 9 million buckets, and I empty them, and then like that. So I'll just hose them off outside so I don't wreck the old pipes. You don't want to wreck your pipes. I'm so weird. We're related. Okay. Well, I hope that you enjoy your kiln and the Joanna Man lesson. And if you need anything, call me. All right. Love you guys. Bye.